Alrighty, welcome everybody to the next edition of the Wildman Revolution show. If we're both having a bit of a giggle on here, it's because we actually attempted to record this for 45 minutes before and realized that my cloud storage was full and we need to revisit this again. So we had a great conversation before. By the way, my guest, Mr. Julian De Ridder, welcome, brother, for the second
Thank you
time
very much,
today.
Steve. Yes,
Um,
yes. Thank you for having me again.
for having you again. It's so fascinating. I love technology, but um, just to let all the viewers or listeners know, we're right deep in a great conversation, and I looked and a little red flash light come up on my Zoom, and I'm like, I've never seen that before. And Julian was like, I didn't want to interrupt him because what he was sharing was like gold, but I'm like, what is that? And I thought I'll click on it, and it says record to this computer. I'm like, but I am recording. But then I'm like, did a bit of little research and it said, your cloud storage is full. So here we are again. Julian, like we started the last one, um, let the listeners, viewers know a bit about yourself. Who are you, man? What do you
Okay,
do? What lights you up?
absolutely. First, can I confirm that we are, in fact, recording this?
Yes, we are.
Thanks for the introduction, Steve. And yes, we did have a really good chat before, and this one's going to be twice as good because we've done it twice, I'm sure. But yes, I'm Julian. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, psychotherapist, counsellor. From Flow Hypnosis is my business name. So I help people with basically my main mission is to help people who are suffering from anxiety and anxious feelings, anxious thoughts. But the spectrum of what I do is quite broad, helping people with self-esteem issues, various addictions, even performance-based issues. So it is very broad, but my main focus, my main purpose is to help people out of their anxious experience.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Awesome. That was better than last time. And I can resonate with a lot of the work you do, and although we live out our expertise differently, our genius zone differently. I love having chats to you and everything aside from this. Of course, you're doing some of my work, like you're a client of mine, you've been in my retreat, but again, you're in the helping people game. Clinical hypnotherapy was with success coaching was the start of my journey. I first got into it to start helping myself. Little did I know that I'd be sitting here over a decade later and like have helped lots and lots of people and like really have a passion for it. But hypnotherapy has always held a place for me. It's interlinked in a lot of my work. It's probably one of the modalities that I haven't really moved on from that I've learned. Again, I got into Reiki. NLP played a big part early on for me, but then I got a lot more depth and I got into a lot of this trauma work and somatic work. But for you, you've really embraced hypnotherapy and I see how much it lights you up. You want to share, like, what is it about it that lights you up?
Yeah, great question. I feel like I've heard this question before, but no. It's interesting. I just walked out and came back in. I was thinking, what kind of information will I bring to this podcast that I didn't bring to the last one? And what's my perspective on the second recording? Am I looking at the first recording and trying
Uh,
to beat that, or am I
uh,
simply creating from a new space? There's an interesting thought, which angle I'm going to look at it, but let's see what happens. So hypnotherapy, well, I love it. I guess hypnotherapy is the the capsule is the main thing I work with. And since I've done hypnotherapy, I've studied counselling and I continue to study different things, and it all helps to enhance my hypnotherapy practice because that's what it's all about. Counselling, a good part of counselling is the conversational piece and getting people to open up a bit more. And that was a part of my journey that I felt perhaps was lacking a bit, even though I was getting great results. I wanted to be able to do that a little bit, even though I'm really results focused and talking for the sake of talking isn't generally beneficial. So, but there was a piece I needed to add in there, and that was that piece. And now it's really complemented well. But what I love about hypnotherapy is the whole lot, right? I love helping people. I've been on a journey searching for a way to help people for quite a number of years now. And when I found this and I started practicing this, I knew from the very first day I started learning it that this was it. I just felt it. You just feel something and it just feels right. And certainly, studying and then starting a business has been lots of ups and downs. It's not easy to get into this business, but the passion for it keeps growing and I keep loving it even more. So I love helping people at the core level. Love helping people and I love seeing them go from, unwell to well. It's a great journey to walk beside them with. But just as much as I love seeing the results, I love the process of hypnotherapy. I love the doing. I love, welcoming someone new in, gathering their details, learning about them and what drives them, but also what hinders them, what those subconscious programs are and how they learnt those programs, where they come from, and the process of the hypnosis itself, delivering the message or the reframe or whatever you want to call it, is something I really love as well. I love the creativity side of things. Like a lot of traditional hypnotherapists, they'll use scripts and things like that. I love simply ad hoc hypnotherapy, using their story, their experience, and their problems to create a process ad hoc. And I just bespoke even. I just love that creative side of it, it just really speaks to me. And I love the results. The results are a real joy. I am results driven, always have been, and solution focused. So the results were very important to me as well. Do I get hung up on it? No, but I love it. I love the
Yeah.
results, and the other side of it is the business side as well, and the marketing and all that. And I love doing that as well. I've gone through probably 6 different websites in 2 years of business. I just love creating this stuff and creating content to a lesser degree, but I do it as well. And all these back end. Right now, I'm working on a anxiety relief blueprint, or like a free document that I'm going to use as a leader into different things. So that's been a great journey as well, creating that. So I can't wait to get that out to the public.
Yeah, I love that aspect to it. And I think that with my work too, whether it's hypnotherapy or anything, the creative side of it, um, that is not only something that I enjoy, but it's always been, if I'm not doing the creative aspect in my business, I find I'm feeling flat or not clear. So
Yeah,
it's always my awareness is around. It's like, oh, all right, cool. I'll get back into creativity. Like, and again, I love the hypnosis and everything I do. And mine would be very different than yours. Mine's very ad hoc as well. Like, I've got all the scripts and everything there, but it's just based on the skill, and it's like based on the people that we're here to help. And that's what I love about it too. And yeah, the creative aspect in anything I do, if my creativity lights me up, and that energy is infused in that, and then that is somehow helping someone else, it just like the piece of fulfillment that comes from that, it just like motivates me to like, well, just keep going and like keep creating. And the more I keep growing, and I see that in you too. Like I've witnessed your journey recently, like the last a year or so. Again, you've done a bunch of my work, you've been to the retreat. We might touch on that later, but you're growth driven too. And do you see the element of growth linked into your creativity, but do you see the flow on of both of that onto your clients too?
absolutely, absolutely. I think, and not just that, I think the enthusiasm for the job as well can be infectious as well. And, people just sit in this space and they feel different already because I think they know, they can feel that I'm here for them and I'm fully involved in their journey and I want the very best for them, and they can sense that as well. So that whole process of them just sitting here and embracing the situation, the space, but also that creative aspect as well, and being on that journey with me, and a lot of the times, when I'm doing hypnosis and I integrate some parts of their life into the journey, into the trance, and that'll be quite an amazing thing for them. They're like, oh wow, it really took me to this place, and it made me remember this thing, and now I remember how good it feels to be good, and I forgot that.
Yeah.
So integrating, a part of their life into their journey to make them feel great again as they felt before. Because, a lot of people will come in and they're like, oh, I've been anxious my whole life. I'm just anxious. I'm anxious
Yeah.
every day. I'm anxious. Every moment I'm anxious. Okay.
Mm.
Well, I'm going to fight you there. I'm going to
Yeah.
fight you in a nice way. And we're going to find even the smallest skerrick, the 10 minutes of your life where you didn't feel anxious, as proof that you're not always anxious, because
Yeah.
it's just impossible to be always anxious, because it's just a feeling, and it flows through us and it flows off. So yeah, that journey and that creativity, the creativity in the questioning, the search for the truth, well, the truth, the patterns and the programs and the underlying stuff, and yeah, it's great. It's like I hesitate to call it a game, but I enjoy it as such, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a search, it's a hunt, and when you find that prize, that little, even if it's that much, that little gold nugget, it's like, you're rich, because with that gold nugget, that's all they need
Yeah.
to make immeasurable changes in their life. So yeah,
Yeah, I love that as an example. And already, again, this is our little running joke of this. We recorded this the second time, but it's like, this is different than the first time we
yeah,
chatted. And what you touched on there, that little piece and the example of the story a person would have is like, well, I've been anxious all my life. My story used to be, oh, well, I've been angry as far back as I can remember. It's just me. It's
yeah,
my identity. And I get it from a lot of clients too. It's like, well, can you remember a time when you were totally confident? No. I'm like, well, part of the journey and the you could say the curiosity through however we go about it to get that data and information out of them, that there is a time where maybe they did feel confident, or maybe they did feel happy, or maybe they didn't feel angry or didn't feel anxiety.
yeah,
We in embodied processing, we call that like it's a resource. It's a
yeah,
resource they've already got in the system. And it's pivotal in the work that I do with clients is either discovering that or help them discover that again for themselves. Or also, I don't know if you use this too, we will help them bring in something that's a resource that can give them something or their system and body to latch onto while they get to the point where they can go, okay, the story that's had a grip on them for so long. Again, the story, oh, I'm just anxious. I've always been anxious, because sometimes it's not as simple as some of my clients, not as simple as a reframe or finding that. Sometimes we've got to dig a lot, but then give them something to help dig.
yeah,
Meaning, okay, one thing I do is like, all right, what about, let's chat about like, what are your dreams? What are your aspirations? Tell me about them. Describe them to them. Like, really give me details.
yeah,
Sometimes they find it hard, but if I can get one piece in that I can see a little bit of a smile or a little bit of a glint in their eye or their body change or their eyes light up a bit, I've got a piece that then will help them be with, again, the digging process or the discovering process. Even when I was doing training around this, there's like one of the trainers was saying he had a client where that's all they did for 5 years is keep finding them pieces.
yeah,
And before they knew it, they didn't even go into the other parts of the process. This person was living a far better life, and the story and the traits or whatever they thought, the identity that was keeping him there, that had been dissolved just by this constant resourcing. Do you see that for some of your clients? They come in and they've got something's really got a grip on them, and you can see it. We can see it straight away. It's like, oh, come on, man. Like, just.
yeah.
But have you found that the simplest little thing has given a profound change for some of your clients?
100%, 100%. And I love the word resources, and I use the same thing as well. The resources or gathering resources can be a large part of the session, right?
Yep.
Yeah, almost 50% or more of the conversational part, because oftentimes the resources are more important than the problems. They know the problem. They just have to tell me so I know it, but they're well versed in the problem. They
Yep.
can see it clearly. They see it all day.
Yep.
And that's the only thing they see, and that's their problem, because all they see is the problem. And they're so one-dimensional. Like I mentioned before about perspective, they can't simply change their view. They struggle a bit to see all the great things, the resources that they actually do have. And
Yep.
it could be as simple as, I don't know, a puppy. The littlest thing can just
Yep.
change everything. Just adjusting their perspective and seeing all the good in their life can really shift things. Because yes, some people have real serious problems, and a lot of the people that I see, their problem, while serious, is within them, right? It's not tangible. They can't touch it. They're not, generally, I don't see homeless people or people who are really struggling in that space. I see people who have feelings and have thoughts and sensations that they can't shake, that they're stuck with. So we just have to shift the perspective, change the focus, so they're not just hearing the voices, feeling the feelings,
Yep.
sensationing the sensations. That's
I like that.
it.
That's great. I feel a mini course in that.
Yeah, sensationing's a sensation. That's a
It's
good idea.
a sensational.
Write that
You
down.
leave feeling sensational. There you go. Yeah, and it's so interesting. And again, it's like this is what fascinates me about us humans, and we're humans too, man. And we have our own times where we're stuck in our story is like got a hold on us, and that we do.
Yep.
And it's like I know on my journey, I got into this journey to work on myself. I didn't get into this journey to help others. I didn't. I had no idea. I got into it to the grip. The story that had a grip on me was like I am an angry. Or it was literally, I'll say it. I'm an angry motherfucker. That's who I am. And that was it. That
You're
was
an,
who I am.
you're an
But the
intense
little,
guy.
yeah, the little voice down south was like, what if you're not? 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 I ignored it for so long. And it wasn't until I put my trust in someone else who had experience, had results I wanted, had worked with a different modality, which was a bit of hypnotherapy with NLP and some other processes, that I got a skerrick, something that was different, that I wasn't angry, that I was actually, I cared a lot. And I was like, that's why I was so like, yeah, as soon as I got that little bit, it just allowed enough of an opening, almost like a little glitch in my matrix
Yeah.
that when that, and then I kept getting curious about that. More things come into my awareness. I noticed that, hey, I had certain qualities that the identity of anger used to cloud, but again, I cared about people. And funny, it didn't take long. I started helping people because I noticed that I wasn't this angry motherfucker all the time. Sometimes
Yeah.
he still pops up every now and then, but I have the resources to deal with him.
Yeah.
So, and again, I think I like this part of the conversation because for the listeners out there or viewers or however you're tuning into this, there's certain perceptions and assumptions about any of these modalities we work with, whether it's coaching, hypnotherapy, NLP. There's I can list off a range more. Embodied processing. There's people sit in the perceptions and assumptions without actually going, well, you know what? What if I got curious about this? What if I just explored this? Because yes, this problem that I'm aware of does have a bit of a grip on me. It is a bit of a vice. I can see that it's probably creating other problems. Like I always say, the problem we think we have is not the real problem.
Yeah.
That's where me and you come in. We help actually get to the root of the problem. But it's for you out there that's listening, you maybe be sitting on something where maybe you have tried to do something about it before. Number one, we usually try to do stuff ourselves because maybe we don't want to let people in. This is a big man thing, by the way.
Yeah.
Women are a bit more proactive. No one's better, but I will put that in there, men. But then we might have put our trust in something and it didn't work straight away and it didn't fix. So there are a lot of people out there I see that have been let down or feel hurt that something didn't work straight away, even though there's an element of responsibility on you, the listener, if that's you, where there's nothing wrong with you. Most of you get into it to get fixed. Put that in there too. But what would you say to people out there that do maybe have a perception or assumption about what we do? Again, I know hypnotherapy, for me, it always used to be like, oh, what, I'm going to go in there and watch my watch, look into my eyes, listen to my voice. That was part of the perception I have of it.
Yeah.
For you, what do you say to everyone tuning in out there about like if they're in something right now and they realize it's a problem or not doing, what would you give as some guidance or advice to them?
Yeah, great question. And I think I'll go back a little bit about people not getting results in certain avenues and having that fear about making the changes. And a lot of people that I see, it's funny because it's not funny. A lot of the people that I see.
It's funny that we spoke about this
Yeah,
before.
I keep saying it's funny, but it's not funny at all. It's
Yeah.
very serious. But a lot of people who I see will have tried a lot of different things. And hypnotherapy for some people is the last straw for them. They're like, I've seen a psychologist for years. I've seen counselors. I've done, all the mainstream stuff. And, it hasn't worked. And, I'm at the end of my tether and I need to change. And people can come in here and I think what really shocks people is the rapidness of the changes. Now they can start to feel different. after the first session. And
Yeah.
that's really quite shocking for a lot of people who have felt really bad for a long time and have done so many other things and not received any change. Like, I've talked about my problems for years. So what? And I didn't get anything out of that. So they wanted to make the change. And for the people who are hesitant, I guess, what's it worth to you to stay the same? What's the cost? What's it costing you every day to not do the exploration? What's the worst thing that can happen? It costs you a little bit of money. You can make that back, but you can't make back, your mental health and the damage that can do. Take the step now, make the change now, and live the rest of your life, on the right path, on the journey to true wellness. Because if you stay where you are, what's the reality? And that's a question I ask people in every session. What's the reality of not making this change? What's the reality of not making the commitment today to make the change to fully embrace this? For someone who, say, they're an alcoholic, well, the reality is fatty liver, it's death. For a lot of people, it's death, especially, highly unwell people who are masking all the feelings with substances. That's the reality, isn't it? So, and what's the other side of it? What's the reality of you taking these steps, following the process, and resolving this issue? Well, it's life. So, for those who are struggling and unsure to make that change, it's life or death. Make the choice. Live your life, bro.
Yeah, and it can be confronting for some. I always ask my clients, well, if you do nothing about this today and 12 months from now, you're looking at your life and nothing's changed, what would that mean for you?
Yeah.
And then most of them are like, but that's the reality for so many people. I've had so many people who have followed me on social media who may have reached out every now and then that have done nothing about it when I've put something to them. They're not in the same spot now, they're worse. And that's sad. I'm unattached to it. And it's not about doing it with me, it's about doing something about it and actually letting someone in who can actually help them move through that.
Yeah.
Because again, there's plenty of resources and people to help on the planet. There is plenty. It's just unresourceful people who don't want to get out of their own way, their own stuff. And they think, well, I'm just this. I am, like for me, I'm just angry. That's it. That's all. Or like you mentioned in your past, you're a chef in your past. I didn't know about that. Well, I found out that before when I thought I was recording and we weren't. But anyway, a segue into that. Let's hear a bit about you and your journey to not only get into helping people and everything like that, but what about before? What was the thing or the events or life like before you got into this work where you love helping people?
Yeah, well, no one knew I was a chef before.
I do now.
Yeah, well, I don't guess, I know. My journey, for a long period of time, I did want to get into some sort of helping profession. I just didn't know. I didn't know. And even before getting into, or even thinking about getting into a helping profession and helping people, I just wanted to make a change because before that, I was a chef. So I was a chef for 15 years, even through a lot of my studies and through different life events, leading me to here. I was a chef because I knew how to do it and I'm pretty good at it. And I can cook anywhere I want, and I still can if I really chose to, but I don't want to.
Underwater?
Yeah, absolutely. That's where I do my best work.
I love it.
But I was telling you earlier on our last podcast we filmed earlier. When I was younger, I remember for one of my birthdays, I asked for a wok. I was like 9 or 10 or something because that's how far back my want to be a chef was. I just loved cooking. I wouldn't say I was good back then, but I really loved doing it and I wanted to do that for the rest of my life. So coming up through school, I was a really good student, like straight A type student, really focused on that and, dedicated to sport, basketball captain in high school in 11 and 12 and stuff like that. So, I was a good boy, because I had to be because there was something going on. Yep. But I always wanted to be a chef. So, I left year 12 and I went and studied being a chef and I moved away from home and I started, and even before that, like the last few years of school, I got into smoking and these different things that sort of started to become part of my life. It was big where I grew up. So, it was an easy easy to step into that space. It wasn't hard to come by. So smoking cigarettes and smoking weed, 15, 16, I was really into it. And when I started cooking, stepping into that space was like heaven, because little did I know that everybody was already doing it. And I say everybody, not to sort of generalize. I mean everybody. There was very few people in any of the kitchens that I worked in that weren't smoking weed, they weren't drinking a lot, they weren't smoking ciggies and party drugs and things like that. So it was a really nice transition for me at the time, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. There was no denying that. It was perfect for me, because that's what I wanted. In reality, it was the worst thing that could happen for me. But
Well, when did you realize that in reality that maybe it wasn't the environment or it wasn't the path?
just this morning, I was like, finally. No, I don't. It's a great question. I don't know if I've ever thought about it before, till actually probably till just now. Um, but in saying that as well, I didn't dislike my journey, all of it. Yeah, there were struggles, but I did enjoy a lot of it. I enjoyed the people I met through it, and the skills I learned. And if I didn't do all that, I wouldn't be here anyway, probably. So, I can't dismiss everything I did, because I think that really takes away from where I am now and the stuff I know and what I
Yeah.
know to be true. So, but who knows where I would have went if I didn't? But maybe not here. But anyway, that's philosophy. We're not here for that.
We're for here for wherever the tangents take us, mate.
Wherever that
It's all
goes, yes.
relevant.
Well, when we look at the stars and just
Well, anyway, like I
yeah,
mentioned to you, like
really
I
cool.
had a really defining moment.
Yeah,
And again, for the listeners and viewers out there that are like, I know some of you are in a part in your life right now where maybe you're looking for more, you're looking for this purpose piece, or you might want to do something, but you find you can't break out of the career you're in or the relationship you're in or whatever. For me, I thought I was going to just be in earth moving, excavation, drainage, mining forever. That was my plan. I was finally going to get my money shit sorted one day because I was terrible with money. And I was actually going to save enough um, to buy my own equipment. But I never did because it was a lot of money and I was earned a lot of money, but I'd spend a lot of money. And I lived a good life too. That's the thing I did. I'm like, I might have worked a lot of hours, but man, I had all the toys and I could do whatever I want, wherever I wanted. I was just miserable on the inside and depressed and lonely. But what happened for me as a defining moment that snapped me out of that was going to be my reality forever was like I lost my good mate to suicide. And
mm,
the snap, it was a snap. It snapped me. It didn't put me into a deep grief or depression or anything like that at the time. No, I got a spark. And I was like, holy shit. Like, if this is my mate who's like, I thought was happy and had everything together on the outside and he's taken his own life, why am I on this planet? What am I doing? Am I wasting my time right now? And that question, why am I here? Like, took me 2 years to act on any partial answers, but that was a real defining moment for me where I was like, hey, there's more to this life for me than what I'm doing. There's more to than just going and like, I loved my job. Like, there was so many parts of my job that I'm like, I sometimes miss it now. I never go work in Western Australia now, but and leave my wife and son here. But there's parts of it that I absolutely loved. There was like good mates
mm,
over there. The fishing was like next level. Like there was good parts, but it was like that defining moment. And for me, it like set me on this path. Like I say, it wasn't just a oh, there's the answer. It's like God didn't appear in the sky and say, do this, Steve. Here it is. Like, no, it was more frustrations, more challenges, um, more new things, which I was never available for. Like I say, here's where my track is. Shit, this traumatic event happened, but it opened up this. What if I looked over here? And for you, I'm like, it sounds like maybe it was a series of things that got you. If you don't remember a defining time, what was the first thing you got into you thought you'd help people with?
yeah, yeah. And you're right. It's been a journey, right? So the first thing I started studying, that because a lot of mine's been studying, I start studying something, and that's the path I want to take. I generally don't just do stuff.
You're the
Um,
opposite of me.
yeah, I like to know what I'm going to do, then I'll do
I'll
it.
jump into something and I'm like, shit,
Yeah,
I better learn about this.
Exactly. Well, the first thing I started studying was nutritional medicine with the idea that I had some skills in food, and I thought I could combine them to I don't know what the next step was going to be, but it would have been pretty cool. But when I was studying that, there was a lot of counselling and different aspects to the study, and I thought, oh, this is really cool. Actually, I think the idea of just helping people with their individual nutrition is really cool too. So I reckon I could do that. And I thought to myself, what if I combine that with personal training? So I went and studied personal training. I became a personal trainer. I did that for a while.
I did that shit too.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
it is interesting.
There you
I
go. You
think
didn't know that about me, did you?
no, I didn't know that about you. But I was a personal trainer for a bit over a year, and assistant manager in a gym, which was fun. I really loved that actually. That was a great space. I was working out every day, multiple times a day because you're just in a gym, right? And I was in great shape, and you get to meet great people who are on their journeys, and you get to help them on their journeys, and that was a great, great experience for me. Then, Serena got pregnant while I was there, so we moved up here because we were living in Melbourne at the time. So we came up here because she had family up here, and things just sort of shifted a little bit for me. I didn't go back down that space. I went back into cooking. But out of the kitchen, I jumped into youth work. So I started studying youth work. And I think that was a big step in the right direction for me because, that led into a job in the homeless industry. Once I got there, I started to meet other people in the space, psychologists, social workers, and I thought, okay, I'm going to start this. I'm going to study psychology. Psychology is where it's at. So I started studying psychology. I got a few units into that, a couple of semesters in. I'm like, well, actually,
No.
this is this is a bit dry. This is a bit dry. It's not. I'm not enjoying it. And I was talking to my wife about it, and we looked, and I saw a course, hypnotherapy course. So I signed up for one. They didn't get enough numbers, so they shut that down. I was like, okay, maybe it's not meant to be. Then another one came up. I'm like, oh, this one sounds even better. I'm going to sign up for that. So I signed up, and from the first day, the first lesson, the first readings that I had to do, I was like, yeah, done, game over. This is where I'm meant to be. And I can remember saying to Serena after the first time, I'm like, wow, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. And I remember it was a 2-year course. I finished it in the first year, and I had my business set up, 2 months before the course finished, before I got my certificate. I was like, I'm ready. This is what I want to do. I want to get out of all this other stuff, but I want to do anything else. This is what I want to do. And it was taking me a little while to get rid of everything I was doing. I'd done support work for a while. I worked in a school for a little while as a SLSO, but now I'm fully in the clinic, in the Flow Lounge, just helping people in this space. So yeah, it's been a great journey, and I've learned so much about different modalities and different ways of helping people, and now here we are, and I keep learning. Straight from that, I jumped into some counselling study to fill some gaps that I thought I had in my practice, and it's all integrating really nicely.
Yeah, so good, man. So good. And again, if you're tuning into this, I'm sure you can take a lot from that, whether you are feeling a bit stuck now, a bit lost, or looking for that fulfillment piece. And I think that's what you've been describing all the way through that I want to do this. Wow. You've had a career. You've been on a journey. The little kid, 9, got the walk. I'm going to be a chef. You've been down that path. But there's always more. And I think this is the thing with it. I've got a couple of clients right now who are transitioning out of careers. They've been very successful in one aspect, whether it's a sporting field or business, and they're transitioning into other things. And um, I see the difficulties for them now. It's part of what I'm helping them with, where the identity that they had around being I am, like for you, it's like, I'm a chef. I'm a chef. You wanted to be a chef as a kid. I'm a chef. For me, I'm a digger operator. I'm a supervisor. That was forever. It's so ingrained. But
Yeah,
I see how challenging they have that identity to transition to what it is they're doing now or putting in. And the key piece I see for any of it is that spark, is that, oh, this is it. Because when you get that, it's not the identity in the mind and the ego that's like, well, you're not, or you shouldn't be, you haven't got the result. It's like that literally melts away anything else. And I tell that to people. It's like, well, what lights you up? Let's find something in this. Why are you doing this? Why? What is the reason? What
yeah,
are the reasons why? Because without that, it's just a construct, and you're probably not going to follow through with it. You're probably not going to get the results or the success. And in our case, the success for us is the result our clients get. It's generally not, and you are similar to me, and this is what I love about you is like, what lights you up is not your bottom line. It's important, It's important, but it's like the result in the clients. I get off a call and I see it. I
Yeah.
feel it. I don't wait till a check or something comes in to go, no, it's like transformation is what it is. And again, for anyone out there, if you are looking for something now, you're like, all right, my career's done, or I don't like it anymore, or we go back 4 years. People had a choice 4 years ago when all the lockdowns were happening and the coercion and all that sort of
Mhm.
stuff with all that sort of thing. People had a choice, and a lot of people took the choice that was like, well, I'm not going to take the risk now and follow through with something I'm passionate about or look outside of it. But what I want to say to everyone out there, you've got a choice now still. And there's parts of your life now that aren't what you wanted them to be or expect them to be, or they're not lighting you up anymore, man. Listen to Julian, like the passion that you talk about all the time. Every time I talk to you about it, it's like, yeah, this is going good, or I've like got this going on and all that.
Yeah.
It's to do, you found that peace. And it's so important.
So true. And, don't get me wrong, I love money and I want much more of it.
100%.
But the money only comes because the focus is on the people. The focus is on their journey, helping them and my enjoyment of it as well. So
Yeah.
I'm just focusing on those things. And when you get great results, you get more money. When you enjoy it more, you get better results, you get more money.
Exactly. And again, in our game, it's our clients' results, the social proof that makes all the difference anyway. So it's like this multifaceted thing that it all works together and comes back to us being passionate about it, us loving it, us bringing that curiosity in. And I touched on this in our previous conversation that no one's ever going to hear apart from us. It's like that. For us, that excitement comes from that, like that little boy or that inner child who brings the lightness to it, who brings the fun to it. And there
Yeah.
is an element of play. Like again, you're a client of me. You should see how I show. I'm cheeky sometimes. I have a bit of fun. I have a bit of banter. I think that's probably one of the most key elements in all of this work because there is a perception that, hey, you got all these problems. It's dark, it's gloomy, that, oh, this journey is going to continue to be dark and gloomy. And again, it's why I don't do talk therapy or why I didn't go down the psychology route because I've had a lot of clients come to me who have been down that. They go, we just keep talking about the shit that's not working or the shit that's
Yeah.
wrong. Surely there's something else out there. So again, the lightheartedness, you've got that in spades, man, the fun, the joy. Did you want to talk to that for you? Why that's an important piece for the work you do as well, that lightness?
100%. And this, look, I've always enjoyed a good laugh, even before I got into this space. I rarely ever said anything serious back in my younger days. I was always saying something funny. But one of the things
There's
that I
something you
learned,
might know. You might know this. Do you know my nickname's Serious Steve?
is it really?
In my close circle, it is.
I don't think you're serious. I think you're intense.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, different. It's different to serious. I don't think you're serious. Intensely having a joke or intensely not having a joke.
I'm intensely passionate.
Yeah, passionate, very passionate. Absolutely. Yeah, and then I started doing the course, and one of the things that the educator was saying is like, it doesn't have to be all doom and like you said, it doesn't have to be sad. Healing can be fun as well.
Yep.
We don't have to focus on all the bad stuff. And I think a lot of the clients really enjoy that, especially the ones, like you said, who have been down the rabbit hole of mainstream therapies, which works great for some people. Absolutely. For other people, it doesn't.
You can bash them on here, mate. It's okay.
Well, I've been to a psychologist that wasn't good. So anyway, but I know some good ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't have to. I think the fun side of things actually helps them change their perspective of things. If all you're doing is focusing on the negative, then how are they meant to see the positive? No. Having a joke and bringing up some of the lighter moments in their life helps them to identify that they can have a laugh. I'll tell you about a client I had recently. She's still seeing me. And the first day she came in, man, was she in a foul mood. And she says she's just like that all the time. She was always in a foul mood. And even I tried a few jokes and she was straight face as they come. And I'm like, oh.
Your jokes aren't funny, but buddy.
Not today, they're not. Okay, this one's going to be a bit of a slow burn.
Yeah.
But by the third session, she laughed. She was laughing when she walked in, and she was laughing throughout most of the session. Is that the solution to all her problems? Of course, just laughing. But how good is being able to have a laugh when everything else is not going too well? So it's a step on the journey. It lightens the load a little bit. And when she can start to, or when anyone can start to see through all the negativity all the time, then you can start to see the glimmers of positivity. You can start to grab hold of some of the things. And what I say to a lot of people, and like we reframe a lot of their ability to compartmentalize thoughts, their negative feelings, trying to focus on the positives and all these, and sensationing the sensations, as I mentioned before.
That's sensational.
You cannot reframe a negative into a positive if they can't see the positive.
No.
So you've got to identify the positives in their life, even if it's just a little, like I mentioned before, gold nugget, just the tiniest little bit of positivity that they've had in their whole life. That is proof that they're not always bad. They're not always anxious. They're not always depressed. There's a glimmer. All we need to do is get that glimmer and stretch it out and expand it, and then it spreads out throughout their whole life. Because if you can do it once, you can do it again. Yep. It's just a process like everything else. So, identifying the good stuff is probably more important than identifying the bad. I can identify the bad without them feeling bad. So.
Yep. Yeah, and it's like one of the things, like when I get a client come to me, they're easy to tell me about all their problems, but I always like straight away, I was like, tell me about your dreams, tell me about your aspirations, tell me about your goals. And I will push them and I'll push them and I'll push them. Yeah. And even a lot of the work, I'll get to develop that as well. Because even in that, I call it the squeeze, when you bring more focus onto the things that you're like aspiring towards or you would desire in your life, it's going to bring your shit to the surface anyway. Yeah. It's gonna give you all the reasons. It's going to give me all the evidence of why you don't have it, but it's going to highlight to you the important link, again, that gold nugget, that glimmer, that, hey, wow, okay, we've been focusing on the good, but you don't feel connected to it because you see the link of why you're keeping this thing in your life, why all that focus on that problem or them problems is actually blocking you from this. And then we can get to the work with that tangible, that target, you could say.
Yeah.
Give them some forward or some, I don't like the word, but maybe some hope, you could say, that glimmer.
Yeah.
To move them forward that. And again, when I got into this work, there was a lot of focus on problems. There was a lot of focus on like, what's wrong today? What's not working today? Man, get on some of my sessions now. I'm like, what's good? Well, what are we celebrating today?
What's good, boys?
Yeah, let's blow shit up. No. But there is. But anyway, shift the gears. We're talking about things that light us up and what we're passionate about. And I know you're a family man. And again, like similar to me, like family, I think our own little families, we've got a similar little family. I've got a 6.5-year-old, you've got a 7-year-old. Tell me a bit about that. And you mentioned it's like the reason why you do what you do, yeah?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think, before family, I was doing stuff. I had a good job and I still wanted to progress my life to a degree, but I think family changed a lot for me, and my focus and my determination grew from family because, I could have, without a family, happily just floated. I think for me at that time, would have things changed? Perhaps, I don't know, but I felt quite happy just to, party a little bit, have a good time, work a little bit, and just go with the flow sort of thing. But since having Malachi especially, it sort of made me a bit more determined to create something substantial for him and for us to enjoy together. It's not just for him, it's for me and it's for Serena. And I think that's been more of a change, more recent, is turning my focus not just on him and Serena, but onto me as well, and creating more for me. Yeah. Which I was totally focused on me in the past. So I guess it's a 360, but in a different mindset, a different mind frame of it. But yeah, they are a big motivating factor for me to create something for them and to create something that I love to do and I can continue to do to support them for a long period of time. And I'm there right now. I'm right in the midst of doing something that I love to do, and I can continue to do for the foreseeable future to support them, because that's what I really want to do. I want to create for them, create who knows what. What's a big word? What's a
I don't know. What River would say, my son? Hunormous, something hunormous.
Something hunormous for all of us, or something small that's just for us. Whatever it is, yeah. We're going in that direction, and I love doing that for them. And Mau's really special.
You mentioned Yeah, yeah, cool. You mentioned focused on you and it's come full circle and it's from a different place now. And here's again, I see this in the world. We're going like people think men think it's selfish to focus on themselves. Their first focus should be only their family. Their first, their first, their first, their first, their first. But I know this now for a fact around my own journey and around a lot of people that I help, especially men, is like, no, you need to focus on yourself and you need to improve on yourself so you can be your fullest expression or be at your fullest energy or in your power for them. And this whole circle, and again, I've witnessed your growth. Again, you're doing a bunch of work with me. You've been to the retreat. Um, Tell us a bit about your journey about focusing on yourself from this more um, growth aspect, knowing what's important to you already and what that's meant for you and some of the changes you've noticed.
Yeah. And I will drop the integrated warrior retreat teaching in there, because there's a process there that, really sort of aligned this for me, that, focusing on self part. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember the thought process and my understanding of it. Perhaps I spoke about it when I was there, but for a long period of time, especially since Mal was born, my focus was on him. Just pushing through so him and my wife could have things, food, whatever it was. And
Provide. Yeah.
yeah, just living, surviving. But after that process, it all turned around. I was like, no, what I need to focus on first is me, and I need to start loving me more, and worship a bit of me and give me the love, because if I do that and I love myself and I lift myself up, all of a sudden everyone benefits more than if I'm focusing on them, because what I bring to the table is you can't measure it. It's unquantifiable, because I am the best version of me because I'm focused on me. And when I'm the best version of me, I can give so much more without even trying to those around me. And look, still working on it,
Yeah.
still trying to be the best I can be and give naturally give the best I can give. And I'm sure I'll continue to try and work at that. But that was a big shift for me there at the retreat,
Yeah.
about shifting things from the external to focusing on me.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one. Again, a misconception. And when we talk about like focusing on yourself, we're not talking about like expanding your ego and like just pumping your own tires up. It's like worth.
Yeah,
It's like coming back to because so many of us, if I would say most humans, we have this distorted foundation of what we believe about ourselves. It's like I'm not good enough, or there's something wrong with me from how we were brought up as kids. Nothing against our mums and dads and the big people out there, but it's like what we believed about ourselves. And until we can come back and start to work on our worth, ourself, if you want to call it, and understand a positive byproduct of that or a positive symptom of that is the people in our life get to benefit. When we start to have that intent and that focus, everything changes. Everything changes. And it can be tough sometimes because the reality for us all the way up till now, just like me, what I believed about myself, there was something I'm not good enough. That's why I was always angry and I'd always take action because I didn't want to feel the shame of not being good enough. And I was in a lifetime of this proving cycle. I have to prove outside of myself.
yeah.
For instance, there's nothing to prove. It's coming back to that. What if I like focus on loving myself more and come back to that? Again, a lot of men might think that's fluffy, but my retreats aren't fluffy. All right,
It
are
wasn't
they?
fluffy. No, it wasn't fluffy.
Like
It's funny people
I'm
ask
pretty
me.
sure I witnessed you busting out of a giant cage and like lifting the roof with a roar that I'm like, whoa, what is this beast?
Uh, it's funny people have asked me about it. I said, well, it's not the kind of retreat that you sit by a pool and have margaritas. It's not a yoga type retreat, although there is some stretching. And I wouldn't hazard to call it fun. It was really intense
Yeah.
most of the time, but awesome. It was so worth it. But yeah, it wasn't fluffy. It
Yeah,
was the
so
opposite of fluffy.
it was opposite of fluffy, but again, we're talking about self-love. We're talking
Yeah,
about like coming back into you, which is so, so important. And it's like the saying, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And that's the way I get my clients to skin a cat. It's like, that's what it is. And it's like, again, going to part of our conversation in like witnessing you and the transformation you've had. And I love the fact that you help people because I've seen you just embrace the change you've had, the little gold nugget you have, again, the piece you shared just there, and it's
yeah,
just opened you up. and you've been able to execute on changes because of that reevaluation of your worth and you and the action steps you've been able to take. Like I know you're doing some stuff around your health, but in your business, I've seen it in your business, man. Like the amount of times you're like, oh, 7 new clients. I've just put up my rates. That's a result of you coming back to that place of like that wholeness and that love for yourself and go, well, this is how I show up in my value.
Yeah.
What has that meant for you too? Like,
It's been huge. I felt a big shift coming out of the retreat. The retreat was really epic for me because straight out of the retreat, I felt, and I went in, I think one of the first things we spoke about there, I won't go into too much into the process or something, was it purpose for the retreat, which was to find that spark and that energy again. I felt like I was lacking, and I still had motivation for my business and my family, but I just got a bit lazy, and there's things I just couldn't break through to get that motivation back or that determination. And coming out of the retreat, that's what I found. I've just been so hungry.
yeah,
I'm so hungry, and following up into coaching, we have to do all these things that we have to go through. I'm like, this is such a small part of it now. I can do this so easily because I'm so determined. Like I'm awake and I see everything. And some of the questions that I won't go too far. I don't want to go into all the things, but like, what didn't work well today? Or what did you avoid today? I'm like, what did I avoid today? I didn't avoid fucking anything. I couldn't imagine avoiding something. I'm just charging forward at 100 miles an hour and jumping over any hurdle, getting done all the things I want to do and then some. There is
yep.
no avoidance. I'm not even slightly resting. I'm just in the zone at the moment, and I just love it. I feel so like just.
Yeah, it is a testament to you too. And you spoke directly to like the intention of why I run the retreats is like to get men back into that power, to feel the energy of that power. Again, I can't hold anyone's hand when they go back into the world or anything, but when men come back to that, I see what they can do with that. And of course, there's other men that need other guidance, and you're referring to the nightly questions and the daily questions I have in the mastery program. For some of the men, they need to keep doing them and doing them, but you've just taken that fire and you've run with it, and you're just backing yourself. And again, I think that's a message for the viewers and the listeners out there. Let's push aside the fact that Julian's done my work. At the end of the day, we are responsible for our own actions and our own choices. And when we take responsibility of that and we run with it, man, anything is possible. Like anything
Absolutely.
is possible.
Absolutely. And it grows, it's not just that. When you start to take the steps, you see the next step clearer, right? And when you start to see benefits, then the whole path shines up and you're like, oh, I'm running.
When you get the tangibles, when you get a
Yeah.
result, and again, this is our work, there's a lot of non-tangibles
Yeah.
for people. It's like, well, I don't get a physical product. It's like, what am I buying here? It's like, you're not even buying, you're investing in yourself.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's a journey you need to go on to see a tangible result. But what I know, especially with men, as soon as they see something change that's positive, they are all in. For some, it comes really quick. For some, it takes a bit.
Yeah.
I know there's been parts of my journey where early on was really quick, but there's been periods where I haven't noticed much change for a while, and I've been working with a coach or working with a mentor. I've gone a year with one who I still work with now. The first year, wow, didn't feel like progress, but I wasn't looking for progress of all these things. I was working through some deep inner stuff that the tangibles took a while to come. But I tell you what, when they came, holy shit. Holy shit, that's why I haven't stopped. But yeah, no, it's really, really cool. Now, something we've chatted about a lot now, it feels like. Really important. We're both dads. We're both fathers. And for me, yeah, family is important, but I don't know. I see myself as a husband, and a father. Having a son is the greatest thing of all for me. It's like, it's been the best. There was a time where I'd never thought I'd have a family, let alone a son. And having a son has been such I don't know, it's just so unique. And we were chatting before about sports, and like your young bloke Malachi is like got the Gold Coast Suns coming down to something this afternoon to do some training with him. Your son's 7. And yeah, Well, it's interesting chatting about this again because we chatted about it twice today, but it's so I think it's
Twice
so
already.
awesome. I think it's so awesome and so relevant to
Yeah,
to to just parents out there when it comes to sport. I'm fascinated about how I'm going to show up in the space with River because you were like to me like, "What's your sport?" I'm AFL, but I reckon my son he loves tackling. He's a freaking weapon, like he is everywhere we go. He doesn't want to kick. He doesn't want to
yeah,
handball. He just wants to attack me. So I think he's going to play rugby. I'm going to do my best to not force him to do anything, but I'd love him to play AFL so I have some embodied experience to pass on.
yeah,
But we were chatting before about like how being a parent, like getting involved and everything, and you were sharing to me about like that example you gave being on the sidelines the other day. You want to just share that again?
yeah, yeah. So he plays under eight, so they train once a week and they play on the weekends, which is a great little thing. We went on the road on the weekend to because he played Burley, which was fun. But I was standing on the sideline watching them play, and I was standing next to my wife Serena, and I'm pretty passionate, one would say, but I know that passion inside of me is my own stuff. So I do try. I try my hardest to keep my overarching passion from Malachi. Just that I try to let him enjoy my exciting passion, but not the sort of you got to do better overarching passion. So on the sidelines, I was watching him on the other side of the field, and I was saying to Serena, like, fucking go harder for the ball, have a fucking go sort of thing. She's like, just calm down. He's just playing. I said, no, I'm telling you, so I don't have to fucking tell him. So then, quarter time, he comes off the field. I'm like, hey, Mal, good job.
Well
High
done.
five. Well done, mate. Great effort. So, I know that I can't do that to him. He's 7 years old. And that's just my own bias coming from, probably when I was younger. I never played footy at that age. So even at that age, you've got to be even gentler, I guess. I don't actually know, but that's what I'm going with. But I know, part of it comes from, I wasn't a good football player when I first started. I got pretty good, but I wasn't when I started. Spent a lot of time on the bench and didn't enjoy it that much.
Yep.
So I don't want that for him. I want him to have a better journey. And he is so much like me. So I know what I needed to be better. And I did need a push. So I'm always thinking in the back of my mind, I know what he needs to be better because he's a mirror of me in almost every way. That's what I think anyway. That's what I get told. But regardless, I still need to hold back. I can't push him to the degree until maybe, now that I think about it, maybe he'll get to a point where he wants it, where he wants a bit of a push, and then we're there to push him. But I think it's probably too early, and I think it's a lot of my stuff coming through there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the things, and I think this was a really good topic to just touch on a bit. It's like, as a, being a parent in that, a lot of the time, if we're not conscious of this, a lot of the time we're going to play out our projections or with our kids and go, we coulda, shoulda, woulda done this, this, this. Now's our chance through to live out our childhood through our kids. And I'm conscious of that, but it's like, it's an interesting dance, hey, because like
Yeah,
my young bloke's not going down there yet, but I'm like, if I do something, I'm all in on it. And I touched on this. It's like, if I'm going to go in, I'm like, well, I'll probably get curious about coaching and that. But I'm like, is that going to be the best for him? Or am I actually playing out my shooters, my couldas, my wouldas, where I
yeah,
didn't quite hit the mark and all that? And just that dance is so interesting. And I'm curious about how I play it out in the journey because at
yeah,
the end of the day, he's his own little man. I know how, like the way I've like fathered him now, I do talk a lot about stuff from my childhood and how I was and how I felt around things. And I've really come from a place of educating him in like talking about how he's feeling when I say something or do something, or if he sees something and he's like, he's super awesome. And like with that, he's really connected. So I feel that'll keep playing out with this because I have spoken a lot about me playing sport when I was growing up and some of the things like with my dad or with other kids or with bullies or with if I didn't go very good, how I felt. So I feel I'll continue that path. But again, it's like the projection part or the playing
yeah,
out. I see it in parents now. Don't worry about that.
yeah,
And there's some of you listening in here now where you mightn't be aware that you're trying to live out some of the things that you mightn't get right in your childhood, not just in sport. Maybe tune in and like, okay, cool. Where's this coming from? Like, where is this actually coming from?
Yeah,
Because again, at the end of the day, you might have the experience, but our little people in our life, they've got their own path.
yeah,
It's like, and
yeah.
it might mirror ours. It might, but it's not ours.
Exactly. And, sometimes I do catch myself. I'm like, what if he does get really good and then plays AFL? How cool would that be? But I already know that's not what he wants to do. Like he's pretty determined to do what he wants to do,
Yeah.
which I know what he wants to do. He wants to be a paleontologist, and he's wanted that for like three or
Oh
four
wow.
years. Yeah, since he
Yeah.
was like tiny, he wanted to do that. But
Yeah.
we'll see how long that lasts. But he knows he doesn't want to be an AFL football player.
Yeah.
So, me thinking that is just ridiculous as it is because he has no intention of doing that anyway. So,
Exactly. But wouldn't it be good to get tickets to the MCG for grand final when he's
yeah.
playing?
Well, imagine he just played up for Gold Coast or something. I wouldn't even have to go to Melbourne. I'd just go
Oh,
up here every
yeah,
6 weeks.
exactly.
Which is,
It's fascinating. It's so important, but and I'm glad we got to talk about that again.
yeah,
Um,
again,
it's been checking the record. The record's worked. We've
perfect.
This has been a great conversation on so many levels. Um, how do people out there get in touch with you, man? I'm going to put some links down below. I'll put
Beautiful.
that down there. I know you mentioned you've been working on some sort of worksheet thing coming out soon. I'd love you to be able to send that through so I can add that as a value add to bot too.
Awesome.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I'm just working on a little anxiety relief blueprint, just as a free resource for people, whether they're on their own journey, they don't want to have contact with me, or if they sort of want to have a little idea of what I'm about and the journey they may take. And there's going to be some other things coming out as well, but I'll send that through. And if people do want to reach out to me, just jump on the web and go to flowhypnosis.com.au. My phone number's there, or they can book in a free call, 20-minute call. We can just have a chat. No pressure or anything like that. I just like to, you know, just as much as it is for them, it's for me as well. I need to know that, their head's in the right place to start the journey, because if it's not, then, there's no point starting. I don't just want money for the sake of it. I want people who want to get the results and are doing
yeah.
it for the right reasons. So jump on there, let's have a chat, read what I'm about, follow the socials. You can follow those links through there as well. And yeah, reach out, have a chat. I'm always up for a chat. I love a good chat.
Yeah. And you got podcasts going now too.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have a podcast going soon. It's funny, I recorded one the other week and I stuffed up the audio just like you stuffed up the recording today. So I'm going to be recording that again, and the first episode is just going to be me having a chat because people love my voice, and I'm just going to let them hear it.
I like it.
And yeah, it's called the Flow Bro Podcast.
Yeah.
So that'll be out soon, and I'll get it on the socials and things like that. So yeah, have a listen. Hopefully, I'll record one this week and have it out by next week. And yeah, that's it, man. I'll be having a YouTube channel coming out soon with a few extra recordings and things like that. I'm just trying to add a bit more value to the people who are curious or just want to have a little bit of a listen. So yeah,
Yeah.
keep your
Cool.
eye out and your ears open.
Cool. Coach Steve sitting here's like heard that try word a few times. I'm just going to drop that seed in there for you.
Oh, what did I say?
Try.
Try. What am I trying to do?
Oh, lots of things today. It's just not a coaching session. It all makes sense. It's all good. No, this has been fantastic, man. Really appreciate your time and your energy coming on here. And it's great that you've come on and shared some of this. And I really invite and encourage everyone to go check out Julian, check him out on the socials and everything. You've just got such a calm, approachable nature. And again, you're about helping people, but you're not about helping everyone. You're about just being this person who can show up in the world and show up with your heart. And I think, man, you're doing magic things, and you're going to do more magic things in the world. And thank you so much for joining us on the Wild Man Revolution show.
Thank you so much for having me, Steve. It's been a pleasure.
All right, see everyone, and make sure you check out the rest of the recordings. And fumbling my words at the end here, that's the best close ever. Check out the other recordings and everything, the other podcasts. And on Spotify and on YouTube, and there'll be more to come in the near future. Thank you all for tuning in.